Hey everyone, I know you clicked on this video to see my interview with Will Sliney, but before I get to that, don't worry, I do actually have an interview with him and I will be getting to that. I'm just going to talk about, some things that will happen on the day and like how I got managed to get an interview with him. But as I'm sure some of you know, I haven't really been able to talk about it on my channel in case like something went wrong or couldn't happen, but now I actually finally get the freedom, since it has happened, to actually talk about it. But I'm a huge fan of Will Sliney. I've met him a couple of times. I've met him once at a signing in Dublin, the second time at a signing in London. The first time I met him in Dublin, I talked for a bit because I was always a huge fan of his work. And I finally got to meet him and I was a bit starstruck that day because he was actually on May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. And I told him we're both going to the same show, which is London Film and Comic Con. So, hopefully I'll see you there. And he said, yes, definitely. So I met him at London and it turns out he actually had a surprise for me. He got me tickets to the Irish premiere of The Rise of Skywalker. And of course I was shocked. I was actually tearing up when I was talking to him because it was just such an awesome thing that happened to me, and I'm always going to be grateful to Will for that. But I just got the tickets like a week or two ago, and I reached out to Will asking him if he'd be free for an interview on the day because I'd really love to talk to him, and especially about his new comic, The Rise of Kylo Ren, which you will be seeing soon. And yeah, he was really kind. He definitely obliged, and he really made my job easier because this was my first ever interview and I don't think I did the best, but I think Will really carried the interview on his shoulders. He did it really well and he was such a great person to interview, so I'm forever grateful to Will. He's just such a great person. He made my job 100 times easier. It could have been so much harder, but it went so smoothly. And I also got to meet some people at Dublin City Comics like Jason Flood and a couple of others. But I'll be talking about that in my spoiler-free The Rise of Skywalker movie review, which will be going on my channel soon. And everyone please pick up Will's new comic with Charles Soule, The Rise of Kylo Ren, because I'm a huge fan of both the works. And yeah, I gave him a drawing again yesterday. I actually sent it to Charles Soule, so I'm sort of freaking out that Charles Soule himself has seen my drawings. But yeah, so I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Everyone please enjoy the interview. I asked him a couple of questions, we talked about his comics, and it was just such an awesome experience. And his Twitter should be, depending on how good my editor is, around there, or I don't know. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much, and without further ado, here's my interview.
We are here at the Irish premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, and we are actually joined by Marvel comic artist Will Sliney. How are you today, Will?
I'm good. I'm excited to see the movie.
Yeah, so am I. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you. And I'll just kick right into the questions, I suppose.
Sure, of course.
So Will, is drawing comics something you wanted to do since you were a child?
Yeah, I didn't know the job existed when I was younger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I always loved drawing. Like if I ever saw a cartoon, I'd be drawing the characters from that. If I was ever playing a video game, I'd try to draw characters from those. And then when I started to discover, that there are these jobs for people out there drawing comic books, I became obsessed with it and just kind of tracked it down and hunted it down as quick as I could to try and get that job.
That's so awesome, and you're one of my favorite comic artists of all time, and I think you're just so amazing here.
Thank you.
And I know you're one of the quickest artists of all time.
Probably. Maybe not of all time. They used to have to, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they used to be putting out 3 or 4 pages a day. It was crazy. Nowadays, I will be kind of known for being able to get a book done on time all the time, which is good, I guess. And I think that's why I was kind of taken over by the Star Wars team, because there's so much work that's involved in a Star Wars book. There's always more that you have to do in the backgrounds and things like that. So they figured with my ability to get a lot of work in there within the deadline that it might suit Star Wars, and I've been there for the last year, so it seems to fit.
Well, that's so awesome. I guess I'll go to my next question.
Sure.
And since we're here at the Irish premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, it's only fair that we talk about your new comic with Charles Soule, The Rise of Kylo Ren,
Yep.
which I actually have 2 copies here, which Will was kind enough to sketch on them. They're definitely both going up in my room, but what can you tell us about the book?
So it is the story of how Ben Solo became Kylo Ren, and it's cool that I can talk a little bit more about it now that the first issue's out. I don't think people were quite expecting the amount of really important information that we have just within that first issue alone. A lot of people would have been spoilers for the book if you haven't read it, but a lot of people would have always thought that it was Ben that destroyed the Jedi Temple, or they would have had different thoughts of who the Knights of Ren were. And we get to delve into his relationship with Snoke and just how far back Snow cut his kind of claws started to dig into Ben and things like that. So there's a lot. It's an oversized issue. There's a lot in there, and there's a lot more to come in the upcoming issues. But it's amazing to work on something so close to the movie. I think it really helps if you read it before going into the movie, because you'll have a bit of a different opinion about Ben or Kylo Ren, whatever you want to call him. And so I guess we'll see what happens in the movie now.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my next question is, honestly, obviously at this point you've gotten to work on so many brilliant comics like X-Men, Spider-Man, and obviously The Rise of Kylo Ren. But is there any comic that you'd like to work on that you haven't really gotten a chance to?
My dreams always were books like Spider-Man and Star Wars. so for now, like I can't believe I got to work on so many Spider-Man comics that I did get to work on, and I have a nice stack of books that I worked on at home. So the Star Wars one is just starting. So I'd love to get that book up to the same as the Spider-Man one, and then possibly have a think about other characters then. But for right now, I'm really enjoying what's going on in the Star Wars universe. So I'm hoping to stick in there for a little while longer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like the new Mandalorian, I think he'd be excellent on a book like that.
Cheers. Yeah, it's cool because they are creating so much stuff, and whenever they do create stuff, it just opens up the world of possibilities that we can kind of play in, I guess, as well. So like a Mandalorian comic would be amazing to do. Like Obi-Wan's one of my favorite characters.
That'd be such an awesome.
So when that comes along, you never know what way you're going to go inside there. But there's some great stuff coming up.
And you also grew up being a huge football fan.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you actually got the chance to work with your favourite football team, Everton?
It was great. So Everton, I guess, found out that there was a Spider-Man artist at the time that was a big Everton fan. So they reached out to me to do stuff, and I've been doing stuff with them ever since. I was actually just over with the club a couple of weeks ago, and I got to have a kick around with Richarlison, which is cool because I'm going to be drawing him for an upcoming program cover. So that's exciting. And ever since then, like, the football work keeps coming in, not just for Everton, but for other clubs now as well. And it's fun to do. Like, I was a big fan of, let's say, the Royal Rovers comics when I was younger, and I used to always draw football players and stuff as well. So I always say that when I was younger, I wanted to be Spider-Man and play for Everton. So I've just gotten to draw for both of them. So it's close enough, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And my last and final question. So you've been working with Marvel for a while now, but how did you actually get hired by Marvel?
I actually got hired by Marvel in Dublin, believe it or not. The Big Bang Comics used to run a show called Dice, and it was brilliant for any upcoming artists because they would bring over a lot of editors. And Marvel's talent manager, talent scout at the time was a guy called C.V. Cebulski, and he's their editor-in-chief now. So he used to be, he would look at your work, and I had been certainly sending him stuff for years and trying out sample pages. And when he was at the show, he basically looked at my latest sample pages and told me I was ready, and that was, I guess, nearly 8 years ago now, and I've been working with them ever since.
So awesome. And yeah, that's all my questions.
Sure.
Will, thank you so much for doing this interview.
No problem.
It's a huge pleasure to be able to talk to you. And everyone, please pick out Will's new comic, The Rise of Kylo Ren, which actually came out today. You can probably pick it up in your local comic book shop. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Daniel, and this was Will Sliney. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.